welcome to Good Grief, the podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki, I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today I'm so excited to get to share another one of my guests with you. She is just a lovely person. We met in an online networking thing, and I only got to know a little bit about her, and we set up a one-to-one, and I got to learn so much more about her. And like 5 minutes into the conversation, I was like, I gotta have you have my show. And she was thrilled to be asked. She was thrilled to share her story, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. Sharon Laflamme is just a dynamic human being who has had quite the journey with her own griefs and losses that pushed her in the direction of this brand new and exciting career in life, helping people with their own traumas to help heal themselves from that. I'm not going to share too much more because I want her to share her story. She is the creator and founder of Creating Serenity Now, and she's just such a cool person. And I'm so excited for you guys to meet her here in just a minute. So before we dive into that, though, I would love to see you all over at on my Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula, you'd really be helping me out. I use all the funds I receive from that to provide pro bono work within the community and work with people who might not otherwise be able to afford my services. So you can get access to this podcast a week early. You get grief affirmations in your inbox. You get other bonus content throughout the month, and you get to be really awesome and cool and have a great day knowing that you've helped me out to provide some services out in the community. So you can also find me other places, but that's not why you're here. You're here to I do that every time, you guys. You are here to listen to my amazing guest, Miss Sharon Laflamme. Hello, lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I am so excited to introduce to you my new friend, Sharon Laflamme. And I did it right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. I pronounced her name right. We had a whole conversation about that before we got started. All right, Sharon, and I'll probably never get it right again. I would like for you to take a second. I can read your bio, but I like my guests to introduce themselves so they can use their own words in their own language and explain about themselves. So I just want you to kind of introduce yourself, tell us where you are in the world and what it is you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for the invitation to be here. Hello to all of you here. If you're listening, thank you. I'm Sharon Laflamme, and I am a product of childhood trauma. So my life has been inspired, and the passion and motivation inside of me has been all about being well in every aspect of the matter, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Those have been the fuel to what I do with my life, how I work with people, how I show up for people. I've been a teacher of all sorts, of all kinds, and I've used lots of modalities to support people, especially somatic experiencing, which works at the root cause of the nervous system's autonomic nervous system, which has been my pleasure to support so many people with childhood trauma, which most of us have. And so my real thing, besides motherhood, has been really inspiring myself to keep motivated, but supporting and being there for other people as they evolve into our consciousness and into the new person that we all have this drive to be our highest, most evolved self. But sometimes things get in the way, like stuff, right?
Okay.
So that's me in a nutshell. I'm a super learner, a lifetime learner, and I always will be. And so I'm got all kinds of certifications and this and that, and I'm still inspired by how can I support you?
Aw, I feel very much the same. I went a little nutty after I got my doula training, and I started getting a little training happy, and I was doing all of it. I want to be certified in everything. I had to finally slow it down because I, hadn't really even started the business yet, so my wallet was hurting. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about your story getting up to this. Like, was there an inciting incident or something that happened that was like, I know what I need to do with my life? Have you been doing what you do now your whole life, or?
Oh, no. In fact, it's been an evolution like anything else. I mean, I have two husbands, two sons from different husbands. I've never anticipated much of what happens in my life. But what I have done is trust in my soul and my gut and my guidance to do what I'm drawn to do. So I was drawn to do a lot of things like teaching aerobics before that was cool, drawn to running before anybody knew what running was. I was
Mhm.
the crazy lady in the neighborhood. I was drawn to just whatever I feel drawn to. I don't let anything stop me. So in my progression of healing myself and taking care of myself, I found this physical therapist that was doing the somatic experiencing training. And what she was working with me, and I was her guinea pig. I'm like, wow, this is stuff. And I knew without a doubt that I needed to get this training. I read all the books about it. And so it was something down the path for me. And during that, like I think I was 50 when I'd tell my hairdressing clients, I'd say, oh, they'd say, oh, I've been doing this for 25 years and I'm so bored. And I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach yoga, which I did. I went out at 50, I got certified. I started teaching yoga and meditation. And again, that was part of my evolution, my healing. But I also can bring it to everybody else at the same time. And I was drawn to the somatic experiencing, not only because I was having it done on me and seeing that, wow, meditation helps me and wow, yoga helps me, but it doesn't get at the root cause of the nervous system dysregulation that allows me to go right back into being triggered and upset and highly activated and unable to really deal with it, even though you're up in your head and you're ruminating and you're trying so hard to convince yourself that you're okay. But if the nervous system, meaning your neuroception and interoception in your body, don't think you're safe, you will not relax. And that means you have to create the environment so your body says, oh, I'm safe. I can relax. I can let the head and mind go. I don't have to worry about this. I can be okay just where I'm at. And that's what the somatic work helped me get to. And since then, it's been like my passion to support everyone to get there. And then
Oh,
and during that, we also created a online course so that you
wow.
can do this work at home and you don't have to go through years of therapy. You can do it right at home at your own pace.
Oh, I love that. And I love that, this type of training like that where I don't have to go somewhere. I can just do it in the privacy of my own home. I love those things.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I have anxiety disorder and for the longest time I still it used to be way worse, but I have fear of flying, like airplanes. Like I couldn't even go to an airport for a long time. And I've been slowly trying to get past that. I've taken a few trips because we went across the ocean last year to go to Ireland. And I was like, I
Mm.
can't be on an 8 hour flight losing it the whole time. So I did anyway, got through that. But the funny thing about anxiety is even though I'm in a moment like that, like I know I'm safe and I'm not nervous at all, but my body is freaking out. Heart's racing, palms are
Exactly.
sweating. And then that makes my mind go, well, maybe I am nervous. So
Oh, definitely. Your body always knows before your
yeah.
mind does. Your body has 80% of the neurons come from the body and up the
Hmm.
vagus nerve to tell your brain how you're feeling. And
Yeah.
every psychologist wants to say, oh, your brain tells you. No, it's not. Your body tells you if you're safe, which is
Hmm.
why your animals always know a safe person
Hmm.
because we can feel it. And so anxiety is simply, I love breaking things down to the simplest part, is simply your body telling you, Nikki, I'm not safe.
Hmm.
And and you're right. We can tell ourselves we're safe. We can look around and say, you look, you're safe. We can try to convince ourselves.
Hmm.
But if we've lived with a nervous system that's learned being activated all the time,
Yeah.
and that's what it's lived, that's what we built.
Hmm.
That's why it's so important that we learn to let go, which we learn in yoga, we learn in meditation, we learn in other aspects. But our society doesn't teach letting go. It doesn't reward you for resting and taking care and coming down into that healing state, because that's what parasympathetic is. It's our healing state. It rewards us staying activated in our mind and busy, and our body is rewarded when we go into parasympathetic state and find that calm and that relaxation where we get nourished and we get detoxed and we get healed and the body goes into healing mode.
Oh, so true. So true. Because when I do get finally relax and I really relax, it's like dopamine. I don't need
Mhm.
drugs. I just need to relax.
And
Relax.
we need to get addicted to that state.
Yeah.
Well, many of us are addicted to the cortisol, adrenaline, vasopressin, boom, like
Yeah.
I feel alive. I am super. And it is until it knocks you down and
Right.
tells you, I'm going to wear you out and put you in bed if you don't pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you also for mentioning pets. I know we were chatting a bit before I started recording about that because my cat's been acting very fearful lately. And it's so true. My last cat, she was my soul cat, um, my best friend for almost 20 years. And
Mhm.
she knew, even if I wasn't displaying any emotions or acting somewhat normal, she knew when I was not okay. And
Mhm.
she would come to me and want me to sit with her. She would like paw at me till I sat down on the floor and she'd curl up in my lap. So,
Yes, and so Stephen Porges will tell you that dogs help regulate us, right?
mhm,
We want a dog, we want that. But cats, they they're independent. They could care less. They're looking for us for their regulation.
mhm.
Like they'll come around when they need to feel that safety, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're okay on their own.
Hmm. Yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I had a thought and I remember now. So we were chatting a little bit before this, about you were reading some very interesting things about death recently, and I'd love to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Did you have questions? You just want me to?
Well, I mean, explain to me what you were explaining before we hit record. I should have hit record
So
early.
I'm going to go into a little more background
Yeah, okay.
as a certified yoga instructor. The corpse pose. And if any of you don't know yoga, at the end, you lay down on the ground
Mhm,
in what's called a corpse pose or shavasana. And that is our chance to practice letting go.
mhm,
Because in Shavasana, we slowly let go of the tensions we're holding on to, or the thoughts we're holding on to, or whatever. And I often would start a class with, here's a bag, put whatever you don't need to be in this class that's not keeping you present in it.
mhm,
And so we let go of anything that's preventing us from going into that deep relaxation state, which we have to learn. We have to practice. We have to do it. But that's what yoga corpse pose is about, is
yeah,
practicing letting go, because eventually we have to let go of everybody, everything, including this corporeal mass we're carrying around. And so we have to get good at letting go,
mhm,
which is why, Nikki, my course, me and my partner, it's the making friends with forgiveness,
mhm,
the art of letting go. Because society doesn't teach us how to let go, it teaches
yeah,
us how to hold on to things.
mhm,
And it teaches us to grudge and resent and hold on to these thoughts and ruminate. But in yoga, not only do we learn to let go, but there's certain terms, and I know I'm going to mess them up, but there's certain ways that we like have an instinctual way of survival, that it's just what's in our innate cellular makeup. It's biologically imprinted. And one of them is like this instinct to always survive. It's like if a bus
mhm.
is coming at you, you're going to do it. You're just it's that autonomic nervous system
Yeah.
just always keeping you safe, which is
Mhm,
what I teach. But there's that instinct, and that's called abinadavesha. And I'm probably not saying it right, but it is part of our makeup. So there's always going to be a part of us that is like destined to try to survive.
mhm. Yeah. And I love that you brought this up. I say it all the time. There is so much to be said for human will, right?
Oh.
And I see this in my work. And everybody I feel like has heard stories about somebody who was dying and they just held on for like so much longer than we thought. And I always want to ask the question, what were they like, while they were healthy? Like how was their demeanor leading up to this? Because a lot of those people were either really willful or really passionate and they're just not good at letting go, or really angry because they're not good at letting those things go, right? And then there's the
Exactly.
people I've met, and I've seen this personally. I've two or three clients like said the words out loud, I'm ready to die. And they're still like, even the hospice is like, they probably got some time left, and they're gone the next day. Because they're just like, I'm ready, I'm good. And they have that ability to just let it go.
And that's a learned experience. That letting go is a learned experience. We have to build up the neural pathways, which is called the ventral vagal nervous system.
Mhm.
And in our little nervous systems, when we're first born, we have a dorsal vagal, which is prepare yourself for death. That's what our dorsal vagal does. And it puts you into depressed state, shut down your organs, your breath, and that. And so you have a dorsal vagal and you have a sympathetic mobilization. But the ventral vagal, which is our ability to have social interactions, to be able to rise slowly into a feeling state instead of going from here to gas pedal on the floor, I'm so upset, I'm out of my mind angry. You lose all that nuances because you don't have a ventral vagal nervous system. And that's what my work and our coursework does, is builds that ventral vagal, which should have been built for the first 17 years of our life with a caregiver that was there showing us all the things that we needed for a stable attachment. And if those needs, and if any of you out there are interested, I have those 6 needs on my YouTube channel. We needed to be seen. We needed to be heard. We needed to be understood. We needed to be loved. We needed to be supported. And there's one I'm missing. Darn. But if if our support system didn't show up in those ways and we weren't seen for who we really were and we didn't show up, we might have gone into a functional freeze state, a dorsal state, because I can stand there and cry, cry, cry because I'm hungry and no one's showing up. And
Mhm.
finally, I'm going to realize my body's going to say, you can't stay this upset. You have to shut down. And
Yeah.
so, um, because we have no capacity when we're young to soothe ourselves. If we're upset, we need another co-regulator because our nervous system does not have the ability, just like our brain takes 25 years to mature. So letting go is something that isn't taught, and most of us don't have the wiring to do
Yeah.
it. And then we get frustrated with ourselves and we think, what's wrong with me? My willpower. And it's not. It's you
Yeah.
don't have the wiring that you needed to have built.
Yeah. Oh, that worries me about myself. So I'm not great at letting go and I'm terrible at relaxing. We were talking about that a little bit ahead of time too. So, yeah, I hope I'm not one of those people that sticks around far too long.
You need my course.
I probably do. A lot of people probably do.
Yes, exactly. The world does actually. And it was conceived with my partner and I based on my experience with so many clients throughout my life and so many of my own hairdressing. I mean, I was like, if I had money for every time a hairdressing person said to me, thanks, you've helped me more than 5 years of therapy, I'd be like, yay. And that was the part that I loved. That was the part
Mhm.
that really inspired me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, if you are willing, would you share a little bit of your own journey with, overcoming things that you've had to overcome in your past to become this amazing person that you are today?
I would be happy to share, but I'm not quite sure what you asked because I missed the first part of the sentence.
Oh, okay. I just said if you are willing to share a little bit about your journey.
Oh, my journey. I thought there was something else in there that I missed. Um, well, I kind of have shared my journey if you're talking about what, like the things that I did to get here.
Well, more like what in your personal life, have you had to overcome to get to
Oh,
where you are today?
okay. Well, I was very young. I was the scapegoat in a family, the truth teller saying, you guys are drunken alcoholics and my health is destroyed. I had ulcers in first grade. I was on tranquilizers my entire life. The doctors treated the little child that's not safe at home and the alcoholic parents that he's also treating, that the kid, me, whose nervous system is so twisted and my gut is so twisted, I have like I've had stomach issues my whole life, not now. But it was early in my high school years that I knew and recognized, hi, sweetheart, that this is, I am a product of the environment I'm living in. It's not me, it's the environment that I'm stuck in. And so it was real early that I started going into self-help and finding ways to support myself and doing the best that I can, living a healthy life. So that took me into, I've already said, running very early, teaching aerobics before it was mainstream, getting into self-help books. I was into therapy early in my life. I did some EMDR early in my life. Um, I had a marriage and a child, and I went through a divorce. And that was very wounding, but I made it through because I was clear about how I felt. I was able to express how I felt, and even the anger, which, we're taught, oh, anger, but anger is our friend. It is our body telling us, you've been violated, you've been mistreated. This isn't, good. You're not. So, and of course, we help deal with acceptable ways of dealing with anger because it's such a beautiful emotion. But I have learned throughout my life going through these types of things. I've been self-employed for almost over 50 years of my life, doing so many different things. But throughout my life, I've learned and taught yoga and meditation. I'm also 25 years into Reiki, which is the healing energy, which I always incorporate no matter what I'm doing in my world. Um, and so there's been this part of me, those levels of spirit and parts of ourselves that have been able to grow when we've given them space. And I've been lucky enough to recognize that I need to move here, I need to grow here. And I've given myself, whether it be education or the space or time, to experience. And even when I was in my somatic training, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to live it. I'm just going to experience it. I'm done putting my head in a book because that's how I thought I learned. But we really learn by experience. That's what really teaches us.
Yep.
So
Yep.
every experience I had that I think this was negative, I thank all those people for and my ex was a narcissist, but you know what? He was my greatest teacher. He
Mhm.
forced me to get healthy. He
Mhm.
forced me to really emotionally, mentally become the best person I could be. And so every experience has changed me in some way for the better because I also believe even though it hurts or it's been a negative experience and I've had a few issues after I moved 65 years I lived in the same state and then I made a huge transition and I did really well with it all. But there's just things where you you recognize that I could hold on to this,
Yeah.
but it's not giving me peace because we're not going to have peace in this world if we don't have peace inside.
Yep.
And my greatest learning experience was COVID and giving me this time and space to do my work and not have to take care of other people in my service businesses. And those were the times that I realized that, wow, I am really in my greatest state when I'm in a parasympathetic state and I'd gotten myself deeply ingrained into it. I still teach my body, ooh, how much deeper can we go? Can we let go of even more? What if I get really comfortable in this bathtub and just really just let it go?
Mhm.
And I still practice all this stuff, but just letting go of the really small, minute things. We just find letting go of anything. The driver that made us mad, the kid that made us mad, the neighbor that made it, I mean, anything. If we can let it go and we can be in our peace, nothing can harm us. That's our power. That's our place of personal power. And anybody that can take that away isn't worth it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry, I keep muting myself. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, my cat has joined us and he's sitting right next to the microphone. So I'm just waiting for him to bump it and his little bell's jingling.
I'm not
Anyway,
surprised he's here with us because he's just loving the energy that we have.
I think so. He's also loving the microphone. Hi, buddy. You'll be my guest next week. Uh, anyway, thank you for sharing all of that. And there were a couple things you've mentioned along the line about anger. And I was just having this conversation with somebody earlier today about how many people, when it comes to grief, feel anger. And mm, so much of what I do is, and I end every episode with telling people their feelings are valid because they are. But we're so fearful about our bigger emotions, or any emotion that is felt really deeply and strongly. We're just fearful of it as a society. So things like, you know, deep guttural crying, sobbing mourning. We like look down on people. I think that's beautiful.
I love it.
Anger when we don't, we're like, oh, and you should never be angry. Don't be angry. I'm like, why not? I was angry. I've been angry when people around me have died because they're not here anymore and I'm mad
They
about it,
left
right?
you. They
These are
left you. Abandonment.
right. And these are all just like valid emotions. It's just, how we respond to them and what we do with them is what matters. Would you agree with that?
Oh, oh, totally. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I find with my clients is when I notice an emotion comes up, and oftentimes they're coupled because when we're little, like I'll say, what would happen in your home if you were angry? Oh, that wasn't allowed. So we learned really early how to squelch our nervous system and not present ourselves with maybe sadness. What if you were crying? Oh, we weren't allowed to cry. It all depends on like, what if you're angry? What if you're fearful? What happened if you showed fear? And every home is different, right? But often they weren't acceptable emotions to be had. And we learned that really early that if I need this person to survive, I have to not take on this authentic feeling. I have to do something with it. And that is when it becomes stuck inside, it's overwhelming, and it turns into trauma because we weren't able to process it the way we really need to process it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hard agree on that. So, what would you say to somebody who might be holding on to that, quote unquote bad, and there are no good or bad emotions. I say that all the time, but the bad emotions, like the big ones, and they're just like, yeah, I can't let that out. What would you say to them? If you're just meeting them on the street. You didn't have time to, go through a whole thing.
Well, it depends on how much time they have.
Yeah.
But really, um, it has to start slowly. Like you have to reward I believe in reward and positive reinforcement and
Mhm.
things like that. And part of the reason we can't deal with those scary feelings is we don't have the bandwidth, the ventral vagal.
Mhm.
But we also didn't learn. We learned if it showed up, it's because it popped out and it was never well received by anybody. So we practice like the little stuff. Like when I'm in the grocery store and that person bumped me,
Mhm.
okay, this is no big deal. It's a little accident. Now, if I'm already in an activated state, I might be ticked off, go, what are they doing? But if I'm in my parasympathetic, I'm like, oh, no big deal. It's okay. Because in an activated state, everything is a threat and everybody is a threat
Mhm.
and we're guarded. But when we're parasympathetic and safe, it's just an experience that
Mhm.
I can cope with.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we can't cope with the big ones because we haven't practiced even on the little ones. So I even say, practice with your dog. He just peed on you. You're mad at him. Get mad. Allow yourself to be mad. Don't hurt anybody, but
Right.
feel those angry feelings
Mhm.
and let them go because emotions are waves, just like color and everything else. They rise up and they complete. When they rise up, any little kid that's cried and hurt themselves, they cry, 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 and then
Mhm.
finally it's eliminated. It's completely gone, and you don't have this reaction anymore because it completed.
Yeah.
And when we have visceral reactions to things, usually there's an emotion in there that never completed that's getting triggered.
Mhm.
And so I start with in our course we have two modules on letting go, the art of letting go, because building up that ability,
Uh-huh.
because it's not just a mind thing, it's
Right.
building the body's ventral vagal to be
Mhm.
able to process it and let it go. And so it's a combination of environmental, inside and outside, and mental and everything. And we also have to know that if I let this go, I will be better off. I will have freedom. I will have personal freedom. I will have full authenticity to be who I am. Because somehow, not letting go of some of this stuff uh, keeps us from being fully authentic and keeps us down in a place that isn't all that healthy for us.
Yeah. Oh, so true. So true. Thank you so much for all of that. All right, before I move on to my little end of the episode tradition, is there anything else you'd like to share with my listeners?
Well, because loving yourself is really where it all starts. And most of us don't even know how to do that. Okay. So I started a YouTube channel. I don't know, is it 10 years ago? I'm not even sure. But there is so much content, short little things. Even if you're having trouble with balance in the bathroom, I started this calling it toothbrush yoga series. But there's so much about yoga, meditation, breathing, um, tips on understanding yourself. I have
Mhm.
like 6 playlists now on there, and there's just free content for anybody that's wondering, how can I feel better? I have simple coping strategies, all somatic work. Because if you are you getting activated and you're getting anxious, I'm going to give you one right now, Nikki. It's called the VU sound.
Okay.
And when you really feeling activated, there's this letdown that can happen if you consciously, intentionally bring your breath in full and deep with you're not forcing, and you let it out with a VOO, VOO.
Okay.
And I have a couple or three of those on my thing, but just doing that resets the nervous system a little.
Huh. Oh, I'm so excited to go check that out. Oh, thank you very much for sharing that. All right. So for our last topic, our last question item of the show, I have a little tradition where I will pull a card at random from the death deck. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but it's great. My listeners all know this. But I'll pull a card at random. These are just conversation starter questions around death and dying. And you'll answer it, and then I will answer it because fair is fair. All right. Ooh. Read this
Oh,
one before. This is good. If despairingly lost on a deserted island, I would A, expect my family to search indefinitely. This is me we're talking about. B, be happy knowing that they tried for probably a year. Or C, hope the family assumed I died and threw me a fabulous celebration of life party. Kind of kind of an interesting question, but
okay. Before I answer my question, you're going to give me an opportunity to educate, which is my most favorite thing to do in the whole world.
please do.
So if my attachment wound was my caregiver didn't show up and I didn't learn to trust, and and trust is the beginning of love, what I learned is I'm not even going to bother to ask. I'm not even going to bother you at all. I'm going to just let you go. I don't need you. That way I don't deal with the pain of you not showing up for me. But then there's other attachments wounds that, I try and I try, and sometimes I have to get to a really high activated state. Like, how many children do you see having their tantrum and the parent gives in?
Mhm.
Because if I ramp it up, I will get what I need. So then there's that person in there is like, I'm going to reach out. And those are the clingy, desperate people that will hold on to any relationship, no matter what, because I need you so badly. And then there's me who's like, I don't need you at all, right? I could be better off without you because that's kind of what I learned in my
Mhm.
attachment stuff. So I would be the last one, I believe. I would be
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't need you because I've never needed anybody because that would hurt too much. So I don't need you. Hopefully you send me off with some good thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And I've seen this question before. I don't know how I would probably go right in the middle. I would hope they would make an attempt to try to find me. And knowing my husband, he would literally go to the end of the earth to find me
Oh.
if that happened. He would. Um,
Oh.
that's just
And
how he is.
so, well, no, you are loved. You are truly loved because there's many of us, Nikki, who can't even say, if could I trust my life with somebody? And you just told me I can trust my life with this man.
Yeah.
And
Oh
there's
yeah.
some people I work with, nobody. I can't trust anybody with my
Mm.
life because the
Yeah.
caregiver didn't show up
Oh my
that I need.
gosh. And I know people like that for sure. Yeah, but I would have to go with that. Now,
I
this
like,
this mirrors the question I often ask people, especially at my death cafes. If you had the choice of dying very quickly and suddenly versus having some time at the end of life to, like, say your goodbyes and everything, like, which would you choose and why? Right? And the answer somebody else gave me is very similar to mine. Like, obviously for me, I would rather it be quick, but I've been on the other end of that and I've lost people to sudden deaths, and that is so much harder for the people left behind. And I would hate to do that to anybody. I know it wouldn't be my fault, right?
Yeah, I get that. And in fact, years and years and years ago, I would bring this up to my kids. I'd say, if I'm healthy and doing well, and then I seem to just die out of nowhere, that's really what I want.
Mhm.
But I do think the question should be, what do I want, or what do I want for my family?
Yeah.
Because then there's the other opposite too, with you watch them drag on for 10 years in chronic illness and hanging on and being,
Yeah.
and I don't want that for them either.
Yeah.
So I've always said, be grateful that I didn't drag you down for years and that I went the way I wanted to. I really feel like I would want to do that. I want to stay healthy and strong and vital and until the day that I don't. I don't really want to go through a whole lot of, and probably because I'm a wimp, but I don't know.
I mean, me too, to be
Yeah,
fair. To be
yeah.
fair. Oh, Sharon, thank you so much for sharing all of this and
Oh,
your expertise and your livelihood. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes here. I want you to tell my listeners where they can find you and your course and your other thing with your partner and all the good stuff.
oh, thank you. Okay, so my greatest passion is supporting people through Creating Serenity Now, LLC, which is the name of my website where I work with people one-on-one. Because we can't get to the heart of anybody's problems and get healthy until we're safe. And that environment that we work with somebody, we have to be safe, just like you are safe with Nikki and safe in her space. And then, of course, the course that we created so you can do some of the work at home that takes time is makingfriendswithforgiveness.com. And that's where you would find some really good work, some information, and start your own work because we don't evolve until we do our own work. And then there's my YouTube channel, which is all free, full of resources that I've talked about. And that is, I think it's at Sharon Laflamme.
Okay. I will have the links for all that in the
Okay,
description so my listeners can just go click away and subscribe and do all the things. So
wonderful.
awesome. Well, thank you, Sharon. This was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing everything about you and your work and somatic experience and healing. And I love it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been such an honor and a privilege to be with you, Nikki, and thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Another huge shout out and thank you so much to Sharon for sharing her story, her feelings, her thoughts, and her beautiful gifts with me and with all of you in the world. Thank you, Sharon. I am so glad you were so willing to share your story. Sharon's information will be in the description down below if you didn't catch everything, so feel free to go down there and click away. You can also I try to put information for my guests on my website. So if you go to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast, you can find information there on some of my guests if they have books or websites. I try my best. Sometimes stuff slips through the cracks, so I'm sorry. But go check over there if you are interested. And you can also connect with me there if you have questions or concerns or you want to talk about the show. You can reach out to me that way. And if you feel like you have a story you'd like to share on my show, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you. There's a link right there where you can do that. And otherwise, you can find me there. You can find me on Substack. I'm Nikki the Death Doula. Don't really do social media a whole lot anymore. I'm there, but I'm very infrequent with that. So not the best way to connect with me, but feel free to go there anyway. That's all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And remember, as always, your grief is yours. Your feelings are valid. Your grief doesn't always have to suck. Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula is produced by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC in Columbus, Ohio. Nikki the Death Doula LLC is for consulting, education, emotional support, and guidance, and is no way considered a funeral establishment or licensed mental health establishment. Scripts, editing, sound design, literally everything with this podcast is done solely by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC, with the exception of the music. The music is Cheery Monday by Kevin MacLeod. Licensing information can be found at filmmusic.io.